Okay, would you all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
All right, Council President Perez,
Here.
Councilmember Corman,
Here.
Councilmember Prince,
Here.
Councilmember McIrvin,
Here.
Councilmember O'Halloran,
Here.
Councilmember Van. Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all present.
Great, thank you. Tonight we have a couple of proclamations to be read.
Okay, the first proclamation is Lunar New Year Week. Proclamation, whereas the city of Renton is home to a multitude of cultures and languages from around the world and values diversity as a source of strength. And whereas we believe that celebrating diversity helps to create a vibrant community in which all individuals live in mutual respect and peace. And whereas the city of Renton is home to a large and diverse Asian American community that has contributed significantly to the social and economic vitality of the city. And whereas the Asian American community will celebrate the Lunar New Year and welcome the Year of the Rat, including those of Chinese, Vietnamese, and Korean cultures. And whereas people of Asian heritage throughout the world regard the Lunar New Year as the most auspicious of all celebrations and mark this occasion with numerous events, gatherings, food, and traditions that symbolize loyalty, honesty, kindness, and prudence.
Thank you.
Now therefore I, Armando Pavoni, Mayor of the City of Renton, do hereby proclaim January 25th to February 8th, 2020 to be Lunar New Year Week in the City of Renton, and I encourage all members of the community to join me in this special observation. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Renton to be affixed this 27th day of January 2020, signed Armando Pavoni, Mayor of the City of Renton.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Perez.
I move the proclamation be adopted as read.
Second.
It's been moved in second that we adopt the proclamation as read. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Okay, tonight, receiving the proclamation will be Master Tony Awi from the International Lion Dance Martial Art Team. Right there.
Hello, my name is Tony Au, a resident of Renton. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and the council members for the proclamation of a Lunar New Year days in Renton. This is a historical for our community, and I appreciate you and all your work. Renton is our home, and we want to share our cultures and with others, and looking forward to working with the city of Renton to make our city more inclusive, vibrant, and safer community. And also we have the Vietnamese community, and also the Chia Oc Tien Foundation, President Michael Chan, and then we have other members, the leaders also here. Thank you. Thanks again. Happy Lunar New Year.
Thank you very much for being here. That's my point.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As someone from Vietnamese heritage, I very much appreciate the proclamation. And again, just to echo how historic it is for our community, not just community, I should say communities, because it's a Korean, Vietnamese, Japanese, Chinese, Tibetan, Mongolian, and a few other that share this culture. And in presence, we have the, of course, Master Tony Au from the International Lion Dance Martial Arts Team. Oh, sorry. In presence, like I mentioned, it's historic, and I'm not sure where we stopped at, but we have in presence with Master Tony Au. We have the Master Tony Au with the International Lion Dance Martial Arts. We have Vo Vietnam Martial Arts, Viet Vo Dao. We have Hong Bang Vietnamese Language School that has been at the Hazen School for all these years. We have the Cao Dai Minh Đức Language School, the Chinese Mixed Family Association, and of course we have the Ting Oak Family Association and Michael Chen as well. And so, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up we have another proclamation.
Okay, proclamation, FBLA-PBL Week. Whereas Future Business Leaders of America, Phi Beta Lambda, is a nonprofit educational organization, and whereas the organization has grown to now encompass over 250,000 members and advisors nationwide in middle schools, high schools, colleges, universities, career and technical schools, and private business schools, and whereas over 5,000 members reside within Washington State, with the largest chapter being Hazen High School. And whereas FBLA-PBL inspires and prepares students to become community-minded business leaders in a global society through relevant career preparation and leadership experiences. And whereas members perform community service activities and strive to build an understanding of the realities of the modern business world. And whereas FBLA teaches high school students basic business and leadership principles, and PBL helps university, college, technical, and business school students to make the transition from school to work. Now therefore I, Armando Pavoni, Mayor of the City of Renton, do hereby proclaim February 2nd through 8th, 2020 to be FBLA-PBL Week in the City of Renton. I encourage all members of the community to join me in this special observation. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Renton to be affixed this 27th day of January 2020, signed Armando Pavoni, Mayor of the City of Renton.
Mr. Mayor,
Council President Perez.
I move the proclamation be adopted as read.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the proclamation as read. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, tonight receiving the proclamation, we have Peter Rustmeyer and Gary Tu.
Hello, my name is Peter Rustmeyer, and I'm a teacher at Hazen High School in the Business and Marketing Education Department. And on behalf of the Hazen FBLA chapter, as their serving advisor, I just want to thank the Mayor of Renton and the council members for adopting this proclamation. FBLA PBL is a organization that is near and dear to my heart, as I was also a member when I was in high school. And it's just a great organization that allows teenagers the opportunity to prepare for their first next step in life after high school. So thank you very much.
Wow, thank you. Okay, next up we have a special presentation.
Good evening. My name is Sean Malcolm. I'm an attorney in King County. I'm here on behalf of the Washington State Association for Justice, which used to be called the Washington State Trial Lawyers Association. It's the oldest and largest civil justice advocacy organization in the Pacific Northwest. Since 1953, our over 2,400 attorney members have advocated for individuals' access to justice and the right to a trial by jury. Judge Herrero, could you come up here? Your Honor, the Washington State Association for Justice would like to present you with the William O. Douglas Judicial Service Award in recognition of your over 20 years of distinguished service on the bench and your commitment to justice in Washington. Congratulations.
Thank you. I guess the judge isn't going to give us a long speech.
I have to go pick up my kid from driving school.
Perfect.
But Mr. Mayor,
Congratulations. Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if I may.
Yes, Councilmember Patton.
As before the judge leaves, I want to thank the judge. As a trial attorney, a part of Wasatch, I hold dear to my heart and all the work that you've done for our communities. Thank you so much.
Been a gas.
Thank you, sir.
Pick up my
Okay, next up is administrative report.
I have no report this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So next up, we have audience comment, and we have about 20 members signed up. Would the council like to adjust the rules of the minutes, or do we want to leave it at 5 minutes at this point? Leave it alone? Okay. All right,
I want to
Mr.
move
Mayor?
it.
okay.
Go ahead.
I move to adjust the time for 3 minutes per person.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adjust the audience comment time to 3 minutes per person. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Randy, you still there?
Yeah, aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, so when I call your name, please step up to the stand. You have 3 minutes. State your name and the city of origin. So, George Steed.
Mr. Mayor, Council President, and members of the council, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is George Steed, that's S-T-E-E-D, and I'm from Silverdale, Washington. Drove over tonight in the rain. I'm the president of the Washington Pilots Association, and I'd like to speak briefly on the airport master plan and the changes required by the recent reclassification. I represent 1,000 pilots that are in our organization, all from Washington, and by extension, the other 14,000 pilots that reside in Washington. I've flown into Renton several times for business over at the Hyatt, for events at the FBO right there at the airport. I've flown my granddaughter in for a tour of the tower. It's a very well-run airport from a pilot's perspective, and we enjoy it quite a bit. The previously discussed land use changes in the new master plan will severely degrade the use of the airport and its attendant economic viability. It'll affect primarily general aviation, which is 99% of the airport operations that happen at the airport. Therefore, I ask that, one, you either request, petition, sue, or otherwise cause the FAA to reconsider its reclassification from Bravo 2 to Delta 3, which is driving all of these changes in the master plan. Two, that you modify the master plan to accommodate the needs of the current businesses and clients if that's necessary. And three, immediately cease any implementation of the current master plan changes until the needs of all parties are satisfied. Briefly, when airports lose functionality, it is never regained. Small losses cascade into large ones, and important, distinctful, useful, and historic pieces of infrastructure are lost forever. So I hope that that doesn't happen at Renton. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Gary Young.
Mayor, Council, thank you for letting me speak tonight. My name is Gary Young, Bellevue, Washington. We are longtime general aviation users over the past 18 years, occupying the southwest corner of the Renton Airport, and we're in what's known as the Levin hangar. We want to thank Council very much for the recent action on our short-term lease as the plans are being worked out relative to the master plan for the airport. We are here tonight as we agree with other tenants that the airport designation by the FAA and the master plan need considerable additional work. And we strongly support this additional work and the time to be taken and to get all the issues on the table and come up with the best solution, as this severely impacts general aviation, as I think you'll hear quite a bit tonight and you've already heard, and also industrial. And we want a win-win outcome for both. Recently, the plan changes with respect to our hangar would mean that the actual building would have to be, a portion of it would have to be modified, which could mean that it could actually have to be torn down, or at extensive cost and remodeling costs, we might be able to accommodate and shift the walls in. but it's a very difficult and expensive process. We just wanted to thank you very much for your support. Our hangar mate is Chuck Pepka with Renton Coil and Spring, and he's been a long time important person in the city relative to the aviation industry, and we've shared our hangar space together for many, many years. He's away today, and so on his behalf, by our behalf, I want to thank the council very much for all the work, and the mayor for all the work that you do in the city, and hopefully we'll be able to get to a good solution.
Thank you. Next is Carol Martell.
I'm Carol Martell, sometimes known as Carol with a deep voice. My wife and I are residents of the city of Renton, almost 45 years now, and we have enjoyed the city. I became a pilot in 1977, so I'm here concerning the Renton Airport potential changes. I got my pilot's license through the Boeing Flying Club at Boeing Field and helped move that club to Renton when some development activities at Boeing Field chased a lot of us off the field and never went back. The hospitality of Renton here has just been excellent for many years. I'm not here speaking for the club, but that's some of the history I've had working with Renton, and it's been very good. I am a pilot. I'm still a pilot. I flew today and put our airplane into maintenance at ProFlight. We acquire a lot of fuel here for our 17 members in our club. One airplane, but we're in the Cedar River hangars, H2, which in the planned development is going to be torn down. And I hope we don't get into a situation like Boeing where a whole bunch of us have to go find another place to live because there isn't going to be the space left here with the plan as I see it. Again, I appreciate the help that the people in the city of Renton and the Fine Airport have given us. I'm representing, for my flying club, 17 pilots that work out of just the one airplane at Renton. Our maintenance and fuel is all acquired at Renton. And we'd like to stay at Renton. It has been very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Andrew and Jean Duffus.
Jean Rollins, proudly Renton. Andrew Duffus, my husband, and I have a co-presentation. We asked for audience comment time for 2. Question: why should Renton support annexation of DeLeo Wall to Cougar Mountain Regional Wildland Park? The answers are here in Renton's Trails and Bicycle Master Plan. Renton residents will benefit tremendously when DeLeo Wall is annexed to Cougar Mountain Park, especially our residents in the northeast corner of the city, Renton Highlands and East Plateau. These citizens are currently underserved with parks and trails, according to our own city's surveys. However, this annexation is a regional benefit for all residents of King County. Together, it is our job to get King County more aggressively engaged, i.e., get them to financially support the cost of negotiations and purchase. The Trails and Bicycle Master Plan states Renton's vision, goals, and objectives. Create an accessible and connected system, develop an interconnected trail network, complete the connections between the regional trails within Renton. This is regional trails. Connect non-motorized networks in adjacent jurisdictions. Renton's Parks, Recreation, and Natural Areas draft plan has similar goals. Create a connected system of parks, corridors, trails, and natural areas that provides access to recreation opportunities. Link parks to other community destinations in Renton and the region, such as parks, trails, natural areas. An overlaying important goal of both these cities' plans is to provide access to parks and natural areas within 1/2 mile or a 10-minute walk. Cougar Mountain Regional Wildland Park is the 3rd largest urban park in our nation. Acquiring the DeLeo Wall property will make it 2nd largest. But more importantly, it will help Renton meet the half-mile, 10-minute goal. DeLeo Wall is within a half mile for the 9,770 residents of the East Plateau Community Planning Area and many of the 30,000 people living in the Highlands. DeLeo Wall is adjacent to established trails and proposed future trails within Renton's May Valley Urban Separator Corridor. From a territorial view perspective, just preserving DeLeo Wall from timber harvest is a noble and worthy cause. DeLeo Wall is within City Newcastle limits. However, in Newcastle's March 2019 application for Conservation Futures Tax Levy funds, they state, the city would look to dedicate the property to expand the boundaries of Cougar Mountain Regional Park. There is precedence for this. For example, the recent agreement between the city of Issaquah and the county when the 46-acre Bergsma purchase was consummated last February. Now the husband's taking over.
Renton needs to remind King County that they have wanted this property for parkland since 1983. I say again, since 1983, King County has wanted this property for Cougar Mountain Park. Gene's handing out a presentation. Council, in this presentation is a King County letter dated March 19, 1990 to a contiguous DeLeo Wall property owner. The letter states, quote, since 1983, they have been actively pursuing purchase of lands for the park. The map that's in your presentation, it's the third page in, is dated March 2018. This property is still desired for Cougar Mountain Park. If you look on the right-hand side, there's a legend. Anything in yellow is in scope desired properties by King County for the park. DeLeo Wall is in the lower left corner of the map, one of the yellow outlined properties. See a little pink tab there. Gene and I have saved the best for the last. Both of the trails plans and the park plan have common goals. Showcase Renton as a regional trail hub that connects non-motorized transportation infrastructure throughout this region. Goal G, protecting and conserving natural resources. Yay! And finally, we citizens and our city administration need to encourage King County administration to lead the effort to preserve DeLeo Wall lookout and trails, either through a fee simple purchase or at least a conservation easement through this for this regional amenity. Citizens can accomplish this by writing letters to King County Executive Dow Constantine and our King County Council member Reagan Dunn. If everyone in this council chamber wrote a letter to those two folks, we would get their attention. They would pay attention. Encourage your children and grandchildren to participate in this civic exercise by writing elected county officials. After all, it's as much their future as it is ours. We began our presentation with a question. Why not end with one? Will Renton City Council adopt a motion to encourage King County elected officials to pursue this opportunity to expand the park, Cougar Mountain Regional Park? Thank you. We've left a verbal copy of our speech and our presentation if anyone wants to look at it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew. Next up is Doug Barrett.
I'm Doug Barrett. I'm one of many pilots here from Cedar River Hangar. There's a lot of it. I'd like to yield my time to Rick Lentz, if I may. I think he has a better message.
Okay. Yes, Rick Mass?
Lentz. L-E-N-T-Z.
Lentz, okay. Yes, go ahead.
Good evening, and thanks for the opportunity to be here. My name's Rick Lentz. I live in the south side of Seattle. I'm a tenant at Renton Airport. I've been here since 1969, still flying. I was also a flight test engineer, and I was also a member of the roundtable at King County Airport to advise the county, the city, and neighboring communities on airport issues. I sent all of you earlier a fairly detailed letter. I don't want to get into that right now, but I do want to expand just quickly on one aspect of it. The letter talks about the proposal mandated by the FAA advisory circular would change the safety areas around the airport, which would cause serious damage to the ability of the airport to operate as it is now. I spoke to that. I spoke to the loss of tenant space, the likelihood of forcing people to wherever other airports they might be able and lucky enough to find, business damage. And the third issue was the reason for this whole thing in the first place, and that's really one I want to talk about right now. The advisory circular that the FAA used to impose the changes to the dimensional safety areas is flawed for a couple of reasons. One, it assumes an average airline commercial airport with average airline fleets, average airline pilots, average airline maintenance, full loads of people and fuel, going wherever, in all kinds of weather, taking off and landing. None of that is what we have with Boeing 737 takeoffs and occasionally a landing here at Renton. Here they use brand new airplanes, factory-trained technicians specifically working on the newest 37s, factory test pilots, empty airplanes, very little fuel, and 99+% of the time they take off and land at Boeing Field. The history record here has shown 0 accidents during Boeing departures. 1 accident back in 1969, I was here, when a 47 was brought in for refurb, hit the berm at the end of the runway, sheared off a landing gear, rolled to a stop on the center line, halfway down the field. That's a pretty good safety record. So fundamentally, the reasons that the advisory circular establishes the requirement to upgrade the airport are being ignored. And I think it's critical that the city work with Boeing and the tenants to re-examine this with the FAA and say, we already have a very effective mitigation in place that has proven itself over time. Second problem with it is they have this trigger of 500 flight operations, which says after you've reached that number, you have to upgrade your airport dimensions. Yeah, we reached it in 2017, 2018, but last year, thanks to the difficulties with the Boeing company's airplane, that number dropped to 1/5 of what it had been. And this year, it's likely to be even lower, because as you all know, production of the 37 has stopped, the MAX. Who knows how long that will take to reestablish that kind of customer base. I'm not here to take advantage of that problem. What I am saying is, this situation gives us a window. Why should we rush into a plan that will almost certainly cause irreparable damage to the viability of the airport, when we can go back to the FAA and say, look, we have mitigating processes that have proven themselves effective. The advisory circular basis is invalid, and the trigger is not going to be reached again for many years. Instead of hurrying to cause damage.
Thank you. Your time is up, sir.
You're welcome.
It's time to
Thank
move
you.
on. We got lots of people to speak today. Thank you very much. Next up is Kevin Franklin.
Hello, my name is Kevin Franklin. Is this working okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. I live in Renton, Washington, and thank you so much for your time. We understand the City Council is taking a very serious look at the issues with the plan, and thank you for that. Here I fly a 1969 Cessna 180 seaplane on straight floats that, like me, is a resident of Renton. Professionally, I own a 50-person technology company here in Washington. Our seaplane base is very unique. It is one of the few places where a person can safely fuel, maintain, and operate a straight floats airplane in the entire USA. And we're in fresh water. So I have some photos here. I've never used this before, but yeah. That is my airplane right after it landed in Renton for the first time. It hadn't been flown in many years. And then it came out of Ace Aviation, a local business here, and they put it on floats. And because it was able to land at the runway and then leave in Lake Washington, that's something that you can only do at just a few airports. And then this is a picture of the full truck. It took me forever to learn how to drive it. Sorry, it's like half a truck, and I almost had an accident. Anyway, it was driven very safely. We have a great operating crew, and everyone's super helpful at the airport. And that's something you can only do pretty much here. Through my technology business, we have had out-of-town investors from all over the U.S. and the world, many who have taken on the unique experience of flying my seaplane, and they get to see Renton and our area and our airport. I also enjoy taking this guy flying. This is the dog. He really likes salmon, so I take him flying as much as I can. So it's not just business executives using the airport. So seaplanes are unique here, and in the last 100 years, we have lost 45 registered seaplane bases. Most of them are probably never going to come back. They've turned into condos or a different type of land development, and we're just never going to get those bases back. And we already have a pretty tough time in Renton. We have limited space, a lack of rentable hangars, and anything that would further restrict seaplane operations at Renton would damage a unique attribute to our fine city. In Washington, there's only one place to land a wheel plane and convert it to a straight floats plane and leave on the water. But British Columbia doesn't have access problems like this. So I'll leave this with you. This is, here's us down in where I love to be, Renton. And these are Northwest seaplane facilities with fuel, hull, and a runway. That unique combination that only we have. But if we go up to Canada, we've got all of these places where you could go. So they've got relatively less population, but much more access. And 5 spots, those are Pitt Meadows, Vancouver International Airport, Campbell River, Victoria Airport, and Courtenay Airpark. But we only have Renton here. And it would be really, really bad if we lose that, because if we wanted to do straight floats and stay in the US, we'd pretty much have to go to like Alaska or Florida, and those are really far away. So thank you for the time to speak.
Thank you.
If there are any questions, I've only got 20 seconds left, but I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, page 2, we're on to Tom Anderson.
Photos?
If you want to submit them.
Dog photos, too. I've got copies.
Mayor, council members, thank you very much for letting me speak tonight. My topic really is about the airport and the future of my business. I represent my local business, which I have 10 employees.
I'm sorry, can you state your name and your city residence?
Thomas Anderson, and I'm with Landing Works. That's my company at the airport. I occupy building 295, which I have since 2013, when I leased part of the building and then eventually the whole building. I represent not only my business, but the local subcontractors that we use. In Washington State Pilots, we have seaplane, land plane owners, which are our customers, and we operate solely out of the Renton Airport. I want to speak mostly about the changes at the FAA and the Airport Master Plan, which is going to significantly undermine our work that we're doing here at the airport. The biggest part of this whole change is going to be a reduction in loss to our business. Our business requires 11,000 to 15,000 square feet, and right now that has been reduced by closing up. We were subleasing part of the Canaan hangars, and that was taken away from us by that the buildings were not adequate. Our loss of sales, if this airport changes, is going to be possibly a 75% loss of our local sales. Loss of service, it will go hand in hand with that. We're going to lose a lot of business in Alaska. FBOs, Kenmore Air Harbor, Ace Aviation are currently taking some of our customers because it is already showing a loss. I want the council, if they can possibly work this in a shortest period of time, petition the FAA to reconsider the classification. The airport is unable, if the airport is unable to obtain relief from the FAA on this classification, we ask that the airport seek modifications to the master plan to accommodate the needs of the current future airport businesses. In the meantime, we ask the airport cease implementation of any of these changes to the master plan until all the avenues have been explored. I'd like to invite you guys to come down to Building 295 and see the airport for yourself and go over some of these concerns I have with me personally down there and give you a tour of our facilities. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up is Steve Beardsley.
Mayor and members of the council, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I want to talk about also the airport issues, master plan. I'm a member of BIFA and I'm speaking for BIFA. We have 532 members and 16 airplanes. We fly about 7,000 hours a year. And the airport, in our view, is a safe operating airport as it is. Safety is a good thing. Everybody agrees with safety. All of the leaseholders and tenants and pilots, everybody there, all agree safety is a good thing. But there's other impacts that are also important, and you've heard from people. Mike Lentz talked about the safety issues, and I agree with what he said. I thought it was very well stated as to what the FAA advisory circular requires and so forth. But the impacts on the businesses, the leaseholder businesses, and the loss of hangar space and tie-down space for the pilots, airplanes, and so forth is severe. The loss of seaplane dock space is particularly severe. It's probably the most severe impact. And the loss of the Cedar River hangars, the movement of other things, hangars in the southeast corner of the 850 building and so forth, are also severe, and they cause adverse economic impact to all of those leaseholders. So I'm not going to take a lot of your time here tonight, but I urge you to consider looking hard at the economic impact of doing this. We understand what the FAA requirements are, but we think we're safe as we are. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up is, can't read the writing, Denise, and I can't, okay, there you go. Yes.
Good evening, Mayor and City
Yes.
Council members. My name is Denise Carnahan. I live in a little sliver of Fairwood that's been annexed into Renton. I'm also on the board of directors and a hike leader for the Issaquah Alps Trails Club, where we lead hikes with a purpose: to preserve, protect, and promote precious property like the DeLeo Wall. Our territory goes from Seattle to Easton and 20 miles south and north of I-90. So we're a regional club. I'd like to thank you very much for your efforts so far to save the DeLeo Wall property. And I'd like to especially thank a couple council members who came on a hike I led a couple weeks ago. Councilmember Corum, McIrvin, and O'Halloran. It was very nice having you there today, or a couple weeks ago. And I really want to echo what Randy Corman said, that the property, yes, it is in Newcastle, but if it does get clear cut, it's going to have the most devastating effects for the citizens of Renton. So I'd really like to see you help us save that property. And it's a regional issue, and we're really lucky to have Cougar Mountain in our backyard. People throughout the region hike there and from beyond there. I myself hike there twice a week. It's very restorative and regenerative. And having more contiguous space would actually be good for all of us and the animals. And yes, there are cougars on Cougar Mountain. I've seen pictures of them. So I'd like to ask for your continued support to save DeLeo Wall for your kids, your grandkids, and generations to come. Imagine what these trees would look like if they got another 50 years to grow. Thank you again for your support.
Thank you. Next up is Rick Lentz. You already spoke, okay. John Chisar? Yes, sir.
I too would like to talk about the airport master plan. I'm John Carson. I live in Renton, Washington. I operate SkySigns out of the Renton Airport. We have 5 planes that operate. We've been there since 2000 when we first started business. We employ several immigrants and future pilots for the airlines. And with the master plan going through, we'd lose our Cedar River hangars, which we have 5 hangars rented that hangar, and we had 3 tie downs. We also use the northeast grass for our pickup area. And at this time, if the master plan goes through, we would be totally out of business. So I encourage you to ask the FAA to rescind the request to modify the airport. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Talking scares the death out of me. Can I leave my letter with, please?
Yeah, with the clerk, please. Okay, next up is James Montag. James? Did James leave the building? There we go.
Hi, thank you for giving me opportunity to speak to the mayor and the council. My name is James Mahoney. I've been in the Renton area for 25 years. And I'm going to take this slightly different approach, more of a collective and collaborative scenario-based approach. And next month marks the 19-year anniversary where we had the Nisqually earthquake. And I was working over at the 2501 building on it's the one that has the big doors where the flight simulators used to be. And ironically, I was working on the 757 when that earthquake hit. And what happened was they evacuated the building, and as I was driving home, I went over 405, or under 405 twice. Then I crossed the Cedar River, and it was there when it hit me. It's like, we just had an earthquake. I'm crossing the river, and, you know, and Seattle has a lot of elevated roadways that when disaster strikes, that could be taking those out. So that could have damaged vehicle traffic. It could have taken out bridges. It could have been, as I crossed the bridge collapsed, or it could have been. So where I'm going with this is we have the natural base and we have the man-made base scenarios where they had the, 30 years ago this year, if you go back November, there was the I-90 bridge sunk. And what that does is that impedes the road traffic and the ability to move people and product and services through the port. And the problem is what happens when you need to, because as the community has grown over the years, how do you get those people out? How do you get word out to the people? Because when you have an event like an earthquake, people tend to panic. And what would be a solution to get that out to the people? Well, it might be a little far-fetched, but, John at SkySigns could get a message out, turn to this radio station, or meet at this location, or some other public official, because if the roads are impassable, people tend to panic, and the city and the fire department and the emergency personnel may have a communication system, but how do you get it out to the people? So, but in order for that to happen, John's going to need FBOs and, Ace Aviation for maybe the spark plugs, the tires, and et cetera for, parts for his airplane, because it's a certified aircraft and you have to put certified parts on certified aircraft. So those are kind of the other things too is the cell phones, the landlines tend to be, jammed when people are trying to connect to their loved ones. So that's one form of communication or purpose of it. So if it came down to the setback or John, I would prefer to have John because he's a safe bet if you need to get the message out to the people.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Gary Amundson.
My name is Gary Amundson. I live actually in Newcastle. My property is the Renton border. And I'm here to talk about the pending DeLeo Wall clear cut between the two cities. Clear cutting that hill would certainly make front page news and probably not be the good news we'd like to see. It also is the edge of Renton, which is was the viewpoint you'd see coming into both of those cities. A big concern is how clear cutting on that very steep hill is going to increase water flow that comes into the valley that I'm right next to. Recently, about $4 million was spent trying to control water flow of May Creek right below the proposed clear cut, directly below there. Water still fills the valley and floods over 148th pretty regularly on heavy rains and flooding times. With less trees on that steep hill, that water's going to flow even faster. So the citizens have raised about $35,000 and that shows the community support, how they feel about this. You'll hear from some other people here, so you know where they stand. I'd like to see Renton, Newcastle, King County, and Fortera work together to try to find an alternate option to that clear cut. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next up is Eva Lindahl.
Dear Mayor and dear Council, my name is Eva Lundell. I live in Stonegate in Renton. I'm one of the co-founders of the Save DeLeo Wall campaign, a citizen-led activist group with a mission to help preserve the DeLeo Wall property as green space. The DeLeo Wall is located in the southeast corner of Newcastle, immediately north of the Renton city limit. It borders Cougar Mountain Wildland Park on two sides, and trails used by hikers for decades run through the property at the top at 900 feet elevation. In April 2018, the owner of the DeLeo Wall property applied for a logging permit, which calls for a clear cut of 28 acres on the steep hillside above and below the wall, extending all the way south to May Valley Road. The permit was granted by the DNR on May 18, 2018, despite written objections from the cities of Newcastle and Renton, local trails groups, and more than 250 citizens concerned about the loss of trees, trails, and habitat. A formal appeal of the permit has been filed by the Newcastle City Attorney in May 2018 to the Pollution Control Hearing Board. The court hearing date has been postponed several times, allowing the City of Newcastle a window of opportunity to negotiate with the property owner with the help of Fortera. So why are we here tonight if this issue is being handled by Newcastle? Well, if the DeLeo Wall property is clear-cut, Renton residents will bear the brunt of the impacts. This is what the hillside might look like after it's been clear-cut. As you can imagine, a clear-cut will cause runoffs into the May Creek below, resulting in additional flooding in an area that's already flooding during heavy rainstorms. Runoffs will also negatively affect salmon runs and riparian zones. Because of the steep hillside, it's not hard to imagine a landslide after all the trees are gone, especially in the wet season. Therefore, we urge the Renton City Council to support the City of Newcastle's efforts to acquire the DeLeo Wall property and permanently preserve it as green space. Please offer your assistance and advice and help them work out a solution that benefits both the owner and the community. Please reach out to the property owner and encourage him to sell. Talk to influencers at the county and state levels and ask for their help. The DeLeo Wall property may be relatively small, but clear-cutting it will have devastating consequences to Renton residents and to everybody else who enjoys local trails and cares about our environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Amanda Drake.
I'm Amanda Drake, and I live in Renton, about a quarter of a mile from the DeLeo Wall planned clear cut. And I wanted to, I agree with everybody who says it should be preserved as green space and hiking space, but I wanted to elaborate more on the detrimental effects to Renton citizens if this happens. Within the last, I think it was 10 years, an effort was made to deepen or enlarge the creek so it could hold more water, because flooding over 148th was a yearly problem. It happened multiple times and the road had to be closed. After they deepened the creek, it's happened much less often. So it's definitely been an improvement. But if it's clear cut, you're gonna have a lot of sediment washing off the hill, possibly mudslides, and it will build up and the creek will be able to hold less water. And without the trees to soak up the water, there's gonna be even more water coming off the hill. And if the road floods and is closed, that's going to impact thousands of commuters, because 148th is a very popular shortcut to people taking Duval when they're heading east towards I-90. So this will not just impact the people in the area, it'll impact all the commuters. In the logging plan, it was also written that after the clear cut, they're going to aerial spray pesticides. And since I live so close to that, and many residents live so close to that, it's the pesticide's gonna drift when it's being sprayed, and then after it's on the ground, when it rains, it's gonna wash into the creek. That's gonna affect a lot of wild animals, the fish in the creek. And then people, if their pets aren't confined to their yards, if they're running loose and they drink out of the creek, it will affect them too. And there are 2 houses on the slope directly below where they're planning to clear cut. The clear cut kind of has a cutout in it, so it'll go down the sides of the houses and then also in back. And that sediment is definitely going to affect the people living in those 2 lots. They could face mudslides that could damage their houses. If the mud goes off the sides, it could block the road, May Valley Road. And it's definitely going to ruin the view. So any house within sight of Cougar Mountain that sees this potential clear cut, it's gonna drop the property values, which is gonna mean less tax money because the houses are worth less. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Katie Erickson.
Hi, my name is Katie Erickson. I live in the Summerwind neighborhood in the Renton Highlands. My house faces the DeLeo Wall, and I'd like to talk to that issue tonight. This is more than just a it's gonna look bad issue. This is an issue with a slice to the mountain that if you allow that to go forth, it's going to break up all of the trail system that covers the Cougar Mountain that countless people have worked to preserve. It is an area that will never recover in my lifetime, let alone my kids' lifetimes. It's much more than just it'll look bad to all of Renton. It's a place where people come. I've been to several of these meetings, and people have come from Seattle and Olympia and all over the Pacific Northwest to hike on Cougar Mountain because it is such a special and unique place. If you go up to the DeLeo Wall, you will see the most gorgeous view you could ever imagine of Lake Washington, of the Seattle area, and just panoramic views. But it's also so important to so many people locally to stave off the insanity of the urban sprawl and go into nature and just collect yourself and calmly, serenely walk and be just without the confusion and the stress of everyday life. It helps people to be happy if you go on the mountain, which I often do. All the people there are being friendly and happy. As all this area is gobbled up in development, it's very important that we have open places where people can calm down and start to treat people with decency and fairness again. That's what my family does when we go into the hiking trails, into Cougar Mountain. I just think it's imperative that you not allow this clear cut to proceed. And I really appreciate your consideration and everything you need to do to stop this from happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Shanna Drake.
Hi, I'm Shanna Drake, and I live at 10222 148th Avenue Southeast, and that is roughly 2/10 of a mile from Deleowa. I'd like to start by saying my father in the 50s was a logger for Weyerhaeuser, and he participated in a lot of clear cuts. He didn't have anything good to say about clear cuts. He said the land never recovered from a clear cut. My main concern about clear cutting, this clear cutting, because I'm so close, is the aerial spraying. Whether it's done by plane or by drone. Since I'm so close, there's going to be drifting. And there's always wind blowing. So the higher you go, the farther the drift is going to go. So the lower the plane is or the drone, of course the closer the spray is going to be, but the higher the drone, the plane is, the further the drift is going to be. And it's going to be toxic to people, to wildlife, and anything that's outside. And we're talking about, there was a plan for 10 years of spraying, and 10 years of that is not going to be healthy for anybody, whether you're a human or wildlife or animals. And there was cougars in that area. I used to babysit in that area, and there was a time when I heard a noise on the back porch, and I peeked out the window, and there was a cougar on the back porch. He was looking for something to eat. And there's all kinds of wildlife in the area. There's coyotes and everything else you can imagine. Birds have decreased already. And if that area is clear cut, then I work on Cougar Mountain at Cougar Ridge Elementary, and we take, sometimes more than one person has to take responsibility, and sometimes we tell our kids it takes more than one village to solve a problem. It may be one village's problem, but sometimes it takes more than one village to get something done. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Jeff Deneen.
Jeff Deneen, Renton, Washington. I am writing you as president of the South Renton Connection Neighborhood Association and as a Renton Airport Advisory Committee member. Within the next month or two, you will be making major decisions about the future of the Renton Municipal Airport. During this time, you'll be receiving information from a number of special interest groups associated with the airport, people with vested business interests in the airport, and people with vested interests in the promotion of aviation. The decisions you make will have far-reaching effects across the city of Renton. It is my hope that you will also take the interests of hardworking Renton residents who have made substantial investments in our city and our neighborhoods equally into consideration. How the Renton Airport grows will have far-reaching implications for the future of Renton. My experience is that cities located under busy airports tend to be unpleasant, seedy places, plagued with problems. Your decisions will not only affect airport businesses, but the city's well-being as a whole. Keep in mind the decision you make, the city will be living with for years and years. Boeing may not decide to be here for years and years. How airports affect communities are well documented. With the busier the airport, the greater the effects. Irrespective of whether or not they service small planes or large planes. These effects include health concerns associated with air quality issues, the impact of noise on the ability to sleep, and how noise increases daily stress levels. All well documented negative indicators to health quality and life longevity. Our neighborhood has a particular concern about lead pollution from your airport, with calculations indicating possible lead values in the tons per year. According to the Mayo Health Clinic website, there is no safe blood level for lead. Airport also has economic effects on communities. After all, not many people want to live under an airport. For the average American, home values is their major investments, and policies that affect this investment will have major ramification on Renton residents. Most of downtown Renton falls under the flight path. Who wants to go to a restaurant under a busy flight path? Who wants to go to a wine walk under a busy flight path? Who wants to go to a parade under a busy flight path? But most importantly, who wants to live under a busy flight path? The Renton Municipal Airport is not owned by Boeing, the FAA, or private pilots. It, like any city facility, is owned by the taxpayers and residents of Renton, and Renton residents should have as much to say about its operation as any other group. Issues concerning the airport are complex for sure, but one thing in my mind is clear. If city direction results in inequitable impacts on selected communities, the city and its representatives have moral and civic obligations to correct the impacts.
Thank you, sir. Next up is Natalie Roberts.
Hi there, my name is Natalie Roberts and this is Emily Royer, and we are both teachers at Tiny Trees Nature Preschool, which operates out of Cougar Mountain Park. So we're outside every day with 3, 4, and 5-year-olds enjoying the forest, learning to love the forest. And we're here to talk on behalf of the DeLeo Wall issue and really on behalf of our students. So we've been talking with them a lot about this issue, and words they've been using are sad and angry and frustrated, and we wanted to give them an opportunity for their voices to be heard. So that's why we are here today, to present you with a bunch of their letters and drawings to all of you about how they feel about this clear cut. So Emily's showing some of them up here so that everyone can see, and I'll read a few now to let their voices speak for themselves. Please don't cut down the trees. This is a person who's going to cut down the tree, and this is the sky around it. Trees are really important for the community. Don't cut any trees on the whole earth, continents, or countries, or states. Don't cut any trees unless a few for paper or furniture. Don't cut down tiny trees because it will ruin our school. Cutting down trees is outside and our school is there because we are an outdoor school. I'm happy if you don't cut down my plant. I'm sad if you cut my plant. So we have many, many letters from our students to give to you all, and we appreciate the time to let the next generation's voices be heard tonight. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Robert Henry.
I'm Robert Henry, Henry, council members new and old. I'm the very southeast resident of Newcastle, which is to say I'm just 300 yards upstream from Renton and also downstream of the DeLeo Wall. About 20 years ago, Renton, Newcastle, and the county worked on the May Creek Basin Plan with the goal of minimizing flooding in the Renton lowlands near the mouth of May Creek, A lot of time, money, and thought went into this plan, resulting in zoning ordinances and best practices requirements, such as the fraction of one's parcel that could be cleared. Owners and developers have worked over these years in good faith to implement or tolerate their part of the plan, resulting in some cost to them. Is the plan working? Well, I presume so. Flooding in Renton did seem to be an issue in the pre-holiday deluge. Based on the timber crews of the DeLeo Wall parcel, spot timber prices at the mill, and a guess at expenses, logging the DeLeo Wall parcel will net the owners, back of the envelope, about $100,000. This is certainly real money, but it's not really that much. Is netting $100,000 to an individual fair to the May Creek Basin Plan and the community? Is it fair to the other property owners and the past 20 years of effort to do something that results in unknown potential damage to May Creek? Is it fair to create an eyesore that people will see from 20 miles away for the next 40 years? This would not be a good advertisement for Newcastle and the Renton area. Thank you for your interest and your sustained focus on trying to acquire this parcel of land to preserve green space and trails in the future.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Maria Wolcott.
Hello, my name is Maria Walcott, and I live at 2220 Ilwaco Avenue, Renton, Washington. I'm a kindergarten teacher and an avid hiker. Today, I want to thank you on the council for your past support to save the DeLeo Wall property of Newcastle. As you know, this property is not located within the city of Renton, but clear cutting it will affect the May Creek watershed, Lake Washington, surrounding Newcastle and Renton neighborhoods. Cougar Mountain and the DeLeo Wall are local landmarks. They can be viewed from the Renton Highlands, I-405, downtown Renton, South Center, and the West Hill. From atop the DeLeo Wall, you can see all of these, as well as Lake Washington and Mount Rainier on a clear day. In December, the City of Newcastle asked for a full appraisal of the property funded by community members at a cost of $35,000. To date, we are within $2,000 of the $35,000 estimate, which is due January 31st. The Slave DeLeo Wall Trails groups, Trout Unlimited, Newcastle Hiking Club, and the Issaquah Alps Hiking Clubs are trying to raise community awareness of the situation. You heard from Denise Carnahan about the hikes, and I want to say also thank you to Valerie, Ryan, and Randy for joining us in the cold rain through the forested slopes to the cliffs of the DeLeo Wall. And I want to encourage the rest of you to come and visit the DeLeo Wall on future hikes. Let's see. Families walk through the park with their children. Hikers and trail runners from all over the Puget Sound come to Cougar Mountain for the scenery and views. Local trail runner Zach Zabluski and his wife April organized a trail run on January 13th to raise money for this appraisal. Over $1,000 was raised. We are asking you, the Renton City Council, to please help us protect the May Creek watershed, save the trees, fish, and wildlife, the beloved trails, and the amazing views.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Amy Roberts.
Hello, my name is Amy Leitz Roberts, and I live in Renton, and I am just about 3 plots down from where the clear cutting would happen. About 5 years ago, my husband and I bought our land, which is 5.5 acres, and it butts up against the back of the property, or up the park, and it was undeveloped. I think we are the last people along May Valley Road to develop the land, and we, of that 5.5 acres, we cleared just enough for the road and our house site. And I can tell you that coming back from a long 4th of July camping weekend, how devastating it was to see these huge, magnificent trees down. Me and my kids were horrified. My husband was like, we had to do it. But we knew that we had to preserve because of the 2.5 years earlier, just residing on the property on and off, that we knew that the wildlife that we would see on a daily basis. And I'm a consultant, and I get to work from home. And on the clear days, there are red-tailed hawks that fly over the property, and eagles continually. We have seen every single animal type, even a bobcat on our property. Thankfully, I have not seen a cougar, and I hope I don't. But I can't even imagine this devastation of clear-cutting that. And it took us 2 years through the permitting process because of the slopes on our land. We have 2 wetlands also. And we had numerous geotech studies done. We had to do numerous things to ensure that we were not going to harm the land in any way. So, and our slopes are not even close, and we have slope buffers that are huge on our property. Like I said, though, we did as minimally invasive work and clear cutting on our property to reserve what was there, because for our children, because we, in the lifetime, there were 80, I counted with my kids, they lasted till 25 rings, but the rings were 80 years. So my kids are not even gonna see those trees rehabilitated in their lifetime. But I can't even imagine what this would do, but I can't even imagine actually that they're gonna get much out of that land. So please consider and help what you can. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Kristen Erickson.
Good evening. My name is Kristen, and I was born and raised in Renton. And Cougar Mountain has been a huge part of my life over the years. I remember when I was young, my family would always take hikes together at Cougar Mountain, and my brother and I would run up ahead on the trails, and my mom would be screaming behind us not to go too far, but we were too distracted by all the weird bugs and slugs to care what she said. So those are really fond memories of mine. Then I got a little older and I finished middle school, and I was really excited to join the cross-country team at my high school, Hazen. And so the Hazen cross-country team actually does summer conditioning before the official fall cross-country season begins. So the summer conditioning involves the team meeting up 3 times a week to go on training runs at different locations, and 1 day a week is always at Red Town at Cougar Mountain, and we'd often run on the DeLeo Wall Trail specifically. And these are more really fond memories of mine. These training days at Cougar Mountain were the favorite by far for me and for all of my peers, my teammates. Almost the whole team would come out to those days. And this is so special, having a place like this where young people can go and work on not only their physical health, but work on their mental health. You're away from the distractions of your smartphone, of social media, and you can just bond with the people you're with. And to this day, when my old cross-country friends are in town, we all get together, we go to Red Town, and we run on the DeLeo Wall Trail just like we used to. So that's why Cougar Mountain and the DeLeo Wall Trail are so special, and they need to be preserved. Because this is where families go to make memories with their children, and this is where friendships form and are strengthened over time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Doug Norberg.
Very much. Thank you for the opportunity to make a few comments about the airport. My name is Douglas Norberg. I live in Seattle, but I'm a tenant in the 850 hangar building at the Renton Airport. As all of this has been going on, I've been following the conversation. I keep coming back to the question, well, if it isn't broken, why are we trying to fix it? It seems to me that the economic impact on jobs and taxes are so much more in favor of leaving things the way they are and having the federal government come in and tell you can't do that anymore. So I'm just simply one of those guys that wonders why we try to fix things that aren't broken. I know you'll do the right thing. I appreciate your pursuing the matter. And again, thank you very much for your time, your concern, and all the effort you put in on behalf of the people of Renton and your neighbors. Thanks.
Thank you very much. That was our last speaker signed up. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on either the airport or the DeLeo Wall? Yeah, please come up. So please give your name and the city you reside in.
Yeah, my name is Peter O'Donoghue, and I reside in Renton in Stone Creek, so I live right below DeLayla Wall. I'm an avid trail runner. I'm a member of what we call Wednesday Night Running Group. We do all I-90, but we start right off of DeLayla Wall, typically at Redtown. But on a daily run, maybe not a daily, but 2 or 3 times a week, matter of fact, I did it today, I go up to DeLayla Wall. So I just want to give you my experience of what it's like as a Rentonite to be able to use that park. It starts when I cross May Creek, where, as someone mentioned before, Renton's made a significant investment in making that creek look more natural, add a lot of plants, make it work better for the water flow. You then actually use public access to get from the May Valley Road, right next to one of the neighbors' house, to go up there. So once again, you've invested in having access to that space. And yet once you get through that access, you have to go through the clear cut in the trail to get up to the DeLayla Wall. Now, right now I'm dealing with a little bit of a right ankle issue. And so when I run uphill, going up, it's not that. It's actually painful because the trail is not flat. Going to the access trail, you're only talking about 3 or 4 feet, maybe, and it's always slanted. And the reason is because that whole wall is so steep. So even from an access perspective, if you go up and clear cut that, the likelihood you're going to be able to maintain a trail with no trees or no effort, it's hard enough now just with trees falling down and cutting them out to keep access there. So it will have significant access issues for people that are trying to get up. Then once you get up to the wall, you do have one of the most spectacular views on the mountain. Matter of fact, there's only 2 views on the mountain. The other one that has an open, full vista view is actually over by the tower, so the radio towers. And when you get up to the radio towers, to get up to that view, there's actually this big, expensive gate that has an electric code. And fortunately, no one's actually bought the properties yet, so you can walk around the gate. And you can walk out onto the empty property and you get a spectacular view of Seattle and Bellevue and the lake. And yet at some point, a millionaire, or maybe even a billionaire, I don't know how much it's going to cost, is going to come in and buy that property, and they're going to finish that gate, and you're not going to have access to that view. And then the only view we're going to have on Cougar Mountain is the view at DeLayla Wall. So it's really important, not only for people that use that and access it from Renton on a daily basis, that I see my friends and other people that I know just by running by them on the trail, but it also speaks to what Cougar Mountain offers. And one of it is beautiful views of Renton, because that's what it looks down to. And once that view's gone, when you clear cut it, no one's going there anymore. The only other view you have to have a really nice setting, to have a view, is on some millionaire's property, which once again will be gone when they sell that. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, one more.
Sorry, I thought there was like a million people signed up. Comic-Con, you know, that thing that you guys didn't fund last year around, I guess somehow they got funding in Renton Pavilion, right, on February 1st. I saw a poster up about it. Nobody else was here for that, but I know last year you guys denied them $3,000 to have Comic-Con, so maybe if you threw a little bit of support that way, that would be great.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I just want to point out, too, that Mr. Collins earlier this week submitted some correspondence, and I just wanted to state for the record that I forwarded it to council.
Okay.
And too bad he walked out.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to comment? Randy, do we still have you?
Yeah, I'm here, and
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I make comment on some of the comments.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, and I know I'm thinking probably what a lot of the council is too, but there was a lot of very thoughtful testimony on both DeLayla Wall and the airport tonight. And to all the commenters, I'd want them to know that we're hearing them. The DeLayla Wall, the city's been working, as was mentioned, been working hard with Newcastle, pulling every lever that we can, really, up till now. I do think that we should really be working hard to use King County conservation money, coordinating with Reagan Dunn. And I know we're already doing this, but to see if we can preserve that land in a public trust as part of Cougar Mountain Park. And the previous administration, Mayor Law had, I think he'd heard the council in that regard and has sort of taken it upon himself. But I would just say that if as new mayor, if you would like a council resolution or something on that point, please let the council know. Otherwise, my view is, please keep at it. We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, trying to prevent flooding of May Creek, and so it's super important financially, if not for all the other environmental reasons that were mentioned. And then for the airport, a reminder to the people that spoke that we're hearing them. And I mean, I have to really agree with the comment that if it's not broke, don't fix it. That we will be talking at the council retreat in the month on this topic. My only final comment is I would just ask if the clerk can do his most expert job at sort of transcribing the comments that we got tonight on the airport, because a lot of those really should be forwarded to the FAA as part of this process, I think. So thank you for that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Will do.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Randy. Okay, next up, we have the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Council President Perez.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as published.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we concur with the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Next up, we have unfinished business. Council President Perez.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Corman.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a Planning and Development Committee report to present.
Okay, Planning and Development Committee report, Parks, Recreation, and Natural Areas Plan update. The Planning and Development Committee concurs with the Staff, Parks Commission, and Planning Commission recommendation to adopt an update to the Parks, Recreation, and Natural Areas Plan. The committee further recommends that the resolution adopting the update be presented for first reading, or for reading, sorry. This is signed by the Vice Chair and members.
I move that council concur in the committee report.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the council concur with the committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Okay, that's all, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Prince.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Finance Committee has committee reports.
Okay, the first Finance Committee is regarding the approval of claims and payroll vouchers. The Finance Committee approves the following payments. Accounts payable, total payment of $7,493,596.44, and payroll benefit withholding vouchers, which include payroll benefit withholding vouchers and 3 wire transfers. For payroll, a total payment of $1,526,524.80 for payroll vouchers, which includes 665 direct deposits and 4 checks. This is the December 16th through December 31st, 2019 pay period. Kidder Matthews, a total payment of $50,066.53, and the municipal court, total payment of $5,776. The vouchers are on file with the clerk's office, signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Prince.
I move that the council concur in the Finance Committee report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Okay, the final committee report, Finance Committee, is regarding the Renton Housing Authority Sunset Oaks Apartments fee waiver request. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve a 100% waiver of the eligible development fees for the Renton Housing Authority Sunset Oaks Apartments development, with the city contributing $101,732.80, or 20% of the transportation, parks, and fire impact fees. Additionally, staff recommends deferring the execution and recording of the Affordable Housing Restrictive Covenant documents to prior to the issuance of a temporary certificate of occupancy for the first building, and to authorize the mayor to enter into the required contract relating to the terms and conditions of the fee waiver. The estimated total fees requested to be waived for the Sunset Oaks Apartments are $800,860. The city would contribute the $101,732.80, or 20% of the total transportation, parks, and fire impact fees, into those respective impact fee accounts. The contribution would be covered by a request for a first quarter budget adjustment. The committee further recommends that a resolution regarding this matter be presented for adoption. This is signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Prince.
I move that council concur in the recommendation of the Finance Committee.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, next up is Councilmember McGurven.
No unfinished business, Mayor.
Councilmember O'Halloran.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Van.
No unfinished business.
Okay, next up we have legislation.
Okay, the first one is regarding the Sunset Oaks fee waiver. A resolution of the City of Renton, Washington, waiving certain development and impact fees for the Renton Housing Authority Sunset Oaks Apartments.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Prince.
I move the resolution be adopted as read.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the resolution as read. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution passes.
Okay, the next resolution is regarding the updated 2020 Parks, Recreation, and Natural Areas Plan. A resolution of the City of Renton, Washington, adopting the 2020 Parks, Recreation, and Natural Areas Plan.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember McGurven.
I move that the resolution be adopted as read.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the council adopt the resolution as read. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, resolution passes. All right, we're on to new business. Council President Perez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the deadline to receive applications from individuals seeking appointment to the vacant council position was January 22nd. So the council received 22 applications, and I want to thank all the individuals that applied for their willingness to serve our community. This is going to be a very difficult decision. Among the applicants, we have engineers, teachers, social workers, librarians, accountants, and community leaders. Most of them already serve our community in different boards, commissions, or volunteer all around Renton. Now, each council member will select one applicant to be interviewed by council on February 3rd. The council wants to make sure that there are no misunderstandings. We want to give at least 6 applicants the opportunity to be interviewed, but it does not mean that the council members are committed to vote at the end of the process for the applicant each one will be nominated at this time. The interview is to get to know better the applicants, and at this point, any council member has decided who will be filling the vacant council position number 2. All applicants that will be interviewed have still the same opportunity to be selected by any council member. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I will begin the nomination process. I nominate Maria Teresa Vasquez.
Okay, Councilmember Corman.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, 22 excellent packages, and I want to thank all the applicants. I will nominate James Albertson.
Okay, Councilmember Prince.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to echo what my colleagues have said. 22 excellent applications. I nominate Jennifer Davis Ace.
Okay, Councilmember McGurven.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This might be the hardest thing I have had to do so far up here. And before I do nominate the name, and I have the floor, I'd like to thank all the applicants in the room who did stick it out through all that public testimony. You certainly proved your mettle through that to show that you got what it takes to sit up here as well. With that, I will go ahead and move Angelina Benedetti.
Okay, Councilmember Halloran.
Yes, I would like to echo all of the sentiments expressed, and I would like to nominate Wesley Bergquist.
Okay, and Councilmember Van.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I very much appreciate all the applicants who applied to this process. Thank you so much for supporting our community, our Renton community. And unfortunately, we can only have a total of 6 applicants for the interview, not particularly in my process, but it's definitely a hard choice that I'm the last to asked to nominate. I haven't been a part of the Mayor's Inclusion Task Force. I am very much about equity in our community, and there's a lot of parts and topics in our community that I'm still not aware of, and I appreciate appreciate all of your work. With that, I give my nomination to Dr. Linda Smith.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Council President Perez.
I move that Angelina Benedetti, James Albertson, Jennifer Davis Hayes, Linda Smith, Teresa Vasquez, and Wesley Verquist be nominated to be interviewed by the council on February 3rd, 2020 at 3:30 p.m. in the council chambers as part of the committee of the whole.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second that the selected council members be interviewed in council chambers. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, congratulations, and thank everybody for applying. It's, that was fantastic. 22 applications, that's really amazing that people want to spend their time on Monday night here with us.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, serve their community.
Again, I want to thank all the applicants. This does not mean that the individuals that were not nominated are not qualified. It's just that at this time, other applicants fit better with the needs of this particular council. But thank you very much for your service to our community. Now, the city clerk's office will call all the applicants to inform them the decision of the council and will provide the logistics of the process to the candidates that will be interviewed. The council will not engage in any outside discussion about the applicants with members of the council during the rest of the week, and all discussions about qualifications of the applicants among council members will be only during council meetings. Is there any questions? No? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we still have new business to conduct. Council President Perez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On February 3rd, at 3:30 p.m., we will have the committee of the whole, and we will have the council vacancy interviews, and that's it.
Thank you. Council Member Corman.
No new business, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Council Member Prince.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Council Member McGurven.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just need to announce that the Transportation Committee scheduled for Monday, February 3rd has been canceled.
Okay, Council Member O'Halloran.
No new business.
And Council Member Van.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just to notify that the Community Service Committee has been canceled for the February 3rd date.
Okay, what's the wish of the council?
Move we adjourn.
Okay, it's been moved. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you all.